My name is Cristina Contreras Fox. I am the Senior Policy Analyst with the Rhode Island Coalition for the Homeless, and I'm very excited to be joined with my wonderful, wonderful friend, Lorcan Murphy.
This is going to change housing and shelter for homeless people radically for everyone. And I've talked about how this is going to impact cis people as well, or people who aren't trans. But also, I just want to take a second and say, please help keep us safe. Lives are on the line.
HUD, Housing and Urban Development, is trying to make a change to the equal access rule. So back in 2016, the Obama administration updated the equal access rule, which said shelters that get federal funding have to accept everyone. Even if you are, quote unquote, segregating by sex, that is not by biological sex, that is by gender, and someone's gender is defined by them. So trans and non-binary folks who needed shelter, thanks to this 2016 change to the equal access rule, could, when they needed shelter, go and find shelter and not be forced to, prove that they are a woman because they're entering a woman's shelter, or prove that they're a man because they're entering a men's shelter. HUD recently published a proposed change that would undo all of that and would therefore segregate federally funded shelters by biological sex only, including establishing a criteria for meeting gender. So shelter workers would have to look at a person and determine, okay, let me look at my checklist. Do you meet all of these requirements for what a woman is? Are you wearing a dress? Do you look pretty? Do you have curled eyelashes? Are you smiling? Do you have a soft voice? Are you 5'4" or shorter? And that is what will let a person go and access shelter, a person who's experiencing homelessness. This change is horrific. It's cruel. It makes no sense whatsoever. It's absolutely nonsensical. It's completely, it's going to disrupt folks being able to access shelter across the board, no matter gender identity or expression. But this is what's happening with it right now. So HUD, anytime they want to make a rule change, and this is true of government bodies overall, anytime HUD wants to make a rule change to their policies, to their code, etc., they can't just unilaterally do it. They first have to publish it and have a comment period where the public can submit comments either for or against, or neutral, just to submit comments on their proposed rule change. Legally, that comment period has to be open for 60 days. We are fast approaching the end of the 60-day comment period for this anti-trans rule. The comment period ends on Tuesday, September 22nd. So we have been, if you follow the coalition, if you get our newsletter, if you follow us on social media, if you see our minutes from our COVID-19 meetings, you know that we've been talking about this rule change for a while. We've been encouraging people to submit comments, because the more comments you submit, the longer it will take HUD to go through this and implement this change, because legally they have to go through every single comment. If you are cis like me, it is time for us to use our privilege to help our trans and non-binary neighbors, because this is a rule change that is disgusting. It will hurt all of us, but it is unacceptable, especially in the middle of a pandemic when shelter has become more important than ever. Okay, so as you can tell, I'm very, very angry about this proposal, but
yeah,
who cares what I feel? Lorcan, what would if this rule change is implemented, what would it mean? And how do you feel about this?
Yeah, not great. It's unsurprising, of course, based on this administration's kind of ongoing repealing of transgender and LGBT people's rights. So I can't say that I'm surprised. It's very frustrating. It's just another way in which the world seems to be against trans and non-binary people, but more than any other group, young trans people are more likely to be homeless. And even just trans people generally, 1 in 5 will experience homelessness at some point. Yeah. And like, personally speaking, I've had trans friends that were just kind of couch surfing, which couch surfing is just homelessness when you still have a couple favors you can call in. So yeah, we are very much more likely to be homeless, and that of course becomes even more intensified and disproportionate with transgender people of color.
Exactly. Yeah, I was just gonna say it's further exacerbated for Black, Indigenous, trans people of color.
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
So suffice to say, this is a very, very serious issue. Access to the shelter, housing, the most basic resource that we all need to survive. This is something that our neighbors need more than us, like by far, and this is what HUD wants to take away in the middle, again, in the middle of a pandemic. In the middle of a pandemic, you want to make folks who already are marginalized, kept out of shelter, you want to make it even harder.
If you're trans, you know somebody that's been homeless. Some of my friends right now have very unstable housing situations, and we need everyone to help keep us safe. Divide and conquer is how some of these things go, and trust me, they can be banning trans people from shelter because they're considered a threat today, and later on down the line they might be banning lesbian, gay, or bisexual people from shelter. So please help keep us safe. Lives are on the line. These policies are never like just about trans people. They're really about enforcing gender conformity. This is going to be about enforcing like that kind of 1950s white picket fence notion of kind of like femininity and having that be the bar. So this is going to affect like non-transgender people as well. And of course, this is going to be able to be used more broadly as a cudgel to kind of just discriminate against whoever you want.
The name of this comment game is not so much eloquence and Warren-esque policy understanding and chops. It is quantity. It's hitting the big points and then sending that all in. So as I was saying before, you know, HUD has to have this comment period, but they legally have to read and respond every single comment that's submitted. So here are some ways that you can, and I was told I could be edited. These are some ways you could with HUD. So Lorcan, for example, all of those points that you just listed, very, very important, and they need to read them. Instead of sending them all in to the portal, instead of sending it all in as one, take each point and send that in as one unique comment. So there are some rules to this. So you could write a comment, like you could say, for example, in your comment, 1 in 5 transgender individuals will experience homelessness in their lifetime. Access to emergency shelter is vital to our trans neighbors more than any other. However, you couldn't just submit a comment that just says,
exactly.
Or it's like, you know, 20 lines of just middle fingers constructed from type code. But you can, like I said, every point that you want to make, submit as a unique comment. And some other things to talk about, because I mean, we all know and love folks who we all know and love, admire someone in our life, in the world, who is not cis. Like Jesus, it's 2020. Like if you don't change that.
Yes.
And if all of us did this, like if all of us who cared about this submitted one comment that's 2-3 sentences,
yeah,
it would take them years. And
yeah, exactly. And that's what we want, is we want to, might not be able to delay this inevitably, but we want to try and kick the can down the road as far as we can, and we want to buy ourselves time. There's Supreme Court cases that are kind of determining sex as being kind of like having transgender people be defined legally as their biological sex, meaning that they are like female based on kind of who they are. And I don't know, I have biology, I'm biologically a woman. Like we want to try and kick this down the road so that it isn't implemented under this administration. If we can just kind of like buy more time for either the Supreme Court to kind of like come to a verdict on what is considered biological sex and who is protected underneath discrimination based on sex, then that means that like we win. I know, and like you said, things are really hard right now, but this is a way to brighten up your day. This is a way to kind of like say, I've done something good, I've given back, I've fought back against.
It's a way to fight back, exactly. This is a way, like we've been saying, this is a way you can fight back. This is a way you can troll for housing justice.
Yes.
On the internet, you don't even have to leave your home, right? Yeah. Like, you could do it and have some coffee and then watch Avatar, or rather rewatch Avatar.
Yeah. Real talk.
That's a good Saturday.
No, like, I don't know, less Twitter comments, more like less mean Twitter comments, more mean housing and urban development comments.
Yay! I like that. That's a good one. Well, that's all I have.
Thank you so much for having me on, Christina. It's really meant the world to me, and not just because I get to see you again.
I missed you so much. So I am grateful to you, Lorcan, for getting up early and joining us and speaking about this. I mean, even though we're in different states, like this is the same fight, and we can be and should be, and I almost really swore, we absolutely are in this together, because that's the only way that we can ensure there's justice for all. Like, not to sound corny, but like, we all got to care about it, because they come for, I mean, I'm a proud gay woman. Like, they're gunning for me, and if it's not, like, if they don't have me in the crosshairs right now, it's only a matter of time.
Yeah.
So we're all in this together.
Yeah. Thank you. I feel very hopeful knowing that we've got folks like you on our side fighting for us and making sure that we're okay.